Kia ora te iwi. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Shane Clark. I'm the General Manager here at Nuralite. Welcome to webinar number 27. Just for those who are interested, this webinar is worth 5 CPD points from the NZIA. This webinar is a little bit different. It's not a product focus. It's more of along our sustainability journey and things like that. So a little bit different to the previous 20-odd webinars we've done. All the previous webinars we've done are available on our education page. If you're wanting to go back and look at those, still apply for your CPD points on those as well. I understand those are a hot topic at the moment, so into that. Right, so how we do our webinars is they're set for about half an hour. We've got 2 panelists, which I'll introduce shortly. And towards the end, we'll do a Q&A. So if you've got some questions, feel free to put them into the Q&A section at the bottom, and then we'll put them to the panelist or myself towards the end there. So like I said, today's webinar is a little bit different. We normally, focus on something technical or a product focus or something like that. This particular webinar is about how we can reduce construction waste through circularity. So luckily for me, luckily for you, I'm not the only one on the panel today. I have Angela Duthie, who is our outright insulation technical advisor, and also have Paula Wallace, the National Specifications Manager for SaveBOARD. So just quickly before we throw to the panel, we're going to run a poll, gets you all engaged in what we're doing and a little bit of interaction. Just want to know who's in the room. Have you heard of SaveBOARD? It sort of helps us pitch what we talk about for the next 30 minutes or so. So leave this up for a couple of seconds. All right, thanks for that. Right, so without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Paula, who's going to talk to us about SaveBOARD. And I guess the first question is, what is SaveBOARD?
Awesome. Well, I hope that first poll blew the roof and got us off to a good start. So SaveBOARD is a business that aims to create a circular economy by turning composite packaging waste into building products. And those building products re-enter the local supply chain, eliminating future waste, which is really important. So we opened the Hamilton plant in 2021, and a few months ago we opened a second plant in Sydney with 2 more plants, Melbourne, Brisbane on the cards as well. So up next is what we recycle. So Tetra Pak cartons, which you'll all be familiar with if you're a oat milk flat white kind of person, soft plastics and mixed fibre. So mixed fibre is again a composite type cardboard or paper based product with other elements like instant Kiwi tickets. We recycle a lot of those. Right, where do we get it? So the soft plastics recycling program. So if you're an avid recycler, which I hope you are, and you take your little bread bags and plastic packaging, need to go back, yes, to Countdown, then that makes its way to us. Okay, so that's part of the soft plastics recycling program. Local collection points where the community can drop off their household Tetra Paks. They're all throughout New Zealand and can be found on our website. We work with a lot of construction companies who are purchasing our product, and therefore we recycle their construction soft plastic waste. And then our producer partners, like an example of that would be Fonterra. So once we get that plastic and all of that waste, what do we make out of it? Which is our next slide. So our products are Better Brace, the rigid air barrier, which we'll touch on a little bit more today. The roof board, roofing substrate, which we have a link there with Nuralite and the potential for roof board to be used in their warm roof systems as well. And then our internal lining is paper-faced and exposed board, and also multi-use, which is used for hoardings and in large sort of industrial and warehousing projects. So all of these products have a declare label, and there's no water, glue, resin, or additives that are used in the process. So it's simply the soft plastic waste that binds all of the other product together. And that, of course, has a huge impact on our carbon. But before we move on to that, this little example here, that's an installation at Te Papa. And when that, at the end of life of that installation, that all came to us and we recycled it and made new boards, which they will use in another installation that's coming up. So that's just a really good example. So our next slide is embodied carbon, my favorite, because it's just, I love it. So our embodied carbon has been calculated on cradle to gate. It is 0.11 kilos of CO2 per kilo of material. So what does that mean when you're looking at it compared to other products, traditional building products in the market? So it's 50%, our carbon footprint is 50% less than ply, 75% less than plasterboard, and a whopping 90% less than cement board. So if we move on to the next slide, we're going to pick out just one product today, Better Brace, rigid air barrier. And we're highlighting this particular product because, of course, Angela is going to talk to us about warm walls. And Better Brace can be used as the rigid air barrier component in a warm wall build-up with rock wool up to 10 meters. And Jade also is just going to pop a link into the chat box now. So that will take you to the Better Brace website page for SaveBOARD for full information. And also on the Outright website, the rock wool technical section has got information about Better Brace as well. And don't forget to actually push the specify button on master spec. So that's our association with Better Brace and rigid air barrier. And like I mentioned before, we're working really closely with Nuralite at the moment so that we can recycle rock wool packaging and turn that into either rigid air barrier or roof board, which will be available as a low carbon alternative within those warm roof and wall warm systems. So I'm going to leave you with a fun fact as we move on to Angela. I love my fun facts.
Nice.
Push the little next slide, please, Jade. So if you were to use Better Brace instead of a traditional product in just an average house, 104 square meters of Better Brace, you would be diverting 1,350 kilos of waste from landfill. That's local waste, local landfill. So lots to think about.
Yeah. That's a really good intro. Thanks, Paula. We've got some questions coming in thick and fast, which is great. We'll save those to the end. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So I'll try and tie this together now with who we are and what we do by bringing in Angela. So like I said earlier, Ange is the Outright Architectural Technical Advisor. And one of the things that she focuses on, sorry, just to go back, Outright is a sister brand of Nuralite waterproofing. So obviously most people are familiar with the name Nuralite. We specialize in waterproofing. Our sister company, Outright, and they have a particular focus on external insulation. And hopefully I've somehow tied that together. And I'll introduce Anne, tell us what we're seeing here.
You have, thanks Shane. So Rockwool is a well-known international brand. It's been in production for over 80 years. The use of Rockwool in this photo here, you can see it as exterior wall insulation. So that ensures fewer thermal bridges and getting the best thermal performance out of the product, which is ideal. So there's a number of iterations using multiple wall claddings, wrap layers, looking at your thermal values, whether you want it to be air or vapor tight, and then of course your structural options too. I'd also encourage people to look at their thermal and condensation modelling when they're looking at building up different wall programs.
Yeah. Next
slide. So the benefits of Rockwool, it's actually a multifaceted product. So it has exceptional fire performance. superior acoustic performance and really good R values. Being hydrophobic, it doesn't absorb water, but if it does get wet, it will retain its R value. In Europe, they looked at a whole lot of projects and removed the wall claddings to look at the performance of the rock wall that had been in situ, some for up to 55 years. And they found that the R value of those products was as good as when they were installed. So that's really a good quality with the product. And that's where low thermal drift comes in. That means the performance of the product over time maintains really well.
Nice.
Rock wool is ideal in buildings over 10 metres high as well. So from a sustainability perspective, it is manufactured from basalt rock, so using natural and recycled materials. The bales themselves are wrapped quite minimally, so they're open at the ends because it doesn't matter if it gets wet. And with the application of outsulation, so in a continuous layer, you've got less cuts, less waste when you're not having to go between framing and all that sort of carry on. So there's less offcuts. With those offcuts, you can use them in hydroponics, putting them in the bottom of pot plants. You can also use them back into your garden too. Rockwool, as an international brand, they have a program called upcycle. It's currently available in 17 countries, but they're still aiming for up to 30 countries in 2030. So watch this space.
And what do they do with that? Is it how they recall and recyclate the
yeah,
rock
so
wool,
that's
or?
using all the offcuts and putting them back into the manufacturing process. So that makes up that recycled content in there.
Right, nice.
So
yeah, how do we tie this into our friends at SaveBOARD?
Yeah, so here's the plastic wrapping that is used on the rock wool. So that's taken off on site and then recycled back through to SaveBOARD and input into their product, which is awesome.
Yeah, nice. So going forward, it's early days for us at the moment, but going forward, we'll be able to specify a SaveBOARD RAB board with the use of an outright insulation specification. Is that correct?
That's right. So you'll be able to look at different, as I said, those different layers and be able to incorporate SaveBOARD into those wall build-ups, which is awesome, and maybe roof. Nice. And this project's really interesting. This is a Kāinga Ora project, Ngā Kāinga Anamata. Now it has, each different apartment block is identical except for the structural components. So there's 5 different structural elements there, all specified with rock wool as external insulation. Now from this, these apartments are going to be built to passive house standard with net zero energy outputs. But also they're going to monitor the construction and the cost and low carbon benefits over time as well. So that's going to be reported back to the industry, which will be hopefully some really good learnings. And of course, all of the soft plastic waste from the site, from the rock wool, will be recycled back through to SaveBOARD products. Yeah, no, it's nice. It's nice to be working with a client that seems to be right at the front end of the circularity sphere. I know Kāinga Ora is still doing a little bit more work towards that with SaveBOARD, so be good to see how that pans out at the end there.
Yes, we have been talking with them for a while, so that's imminent. Yeah. Nice. Cool.
So Paula, we're just going to throw back to you again and talk about how does SaveBOARD promote circularity. And just to give you a heads up, we've had a few questions come in, and they're along the theme of recirculating the product again. So we've had
great.
We might be able to touch on those as we go through this.
Something I had prepared a little earlier, just on that point.
Nice.
So clearly we're all about circularity. So we take the customer waste, and you'll see that we've also got end of life, but we take the customer waste, we turn it into SaveBOARD products, which we've talked about, and then we use them in either customer buildings or customer environments. So it's not necessarily just buildings. We've got those building products, but they can also be used for floor protection cover, sacrificial formwork I've just been speaking to someone about, shelving. So there's lots of opportunities outside of what you would consider to be typical building applications. We run a product stewardship program, so all the offcuts on site can come back to us, and also at end of life it comes back to us, and it literally just gets back into the shredder with the soft plastic and mixed fibre, and those products would become hoardings with our multi-use product. So it just keeps going round and round. So yes, end of life does come back to us. Circularity, round and round. Next, please. So these are some examples of what we've done for customers, working through either the customer directly or their architect. So this is Powerco in New Plymouth, and we've taken all their old marketing collateral and we have used that to make their boards, and that's just a picture of it up in their reception in New Plymouth. And we are hosting, coming up shortly within the next sort of month or so, we're holding we've got a couple of events, installation events, so that you can come and have a look at the SaveBOARD in situ. So if you'd like to be notified of what events we're hosting and where they are, just contact us and we'll pop you on the list so that you get an invite. So the next example is KFC. And that's been a lot in the media right now. So we're delighted to be working with KFC. There's over 700 stores in Australia and 100 plus in New Zealand. The first one started last week. So what we do for KFC is we take all their back of house packaging waste. So our factory doesn't smell like KFC because we're not taking the buckets. We're taking the soft plastic waste from back of house, and that gets recycled into the boards that they're using in their store. They loved the concept of that, which was one of the main decision makers in selecting SaveBOARD, but also they saved so much time. This is the exposed board, it's pre-finished, so there's no plastering to be done, there's no painting. As soon as that's up, it's job done, which is really important for a refit. And of course, all of the waste from that can be recycled. So if you've got, as an architect or as a construction company as well, if you've got clients or customers that generate waste that SaveBOARD can recycle, then chat to us, because then we can work with you to create a circular solution for your customer. So we can help you organise to what waste can be collected from your customer and returned to us for the product that you're going to specify in that project. It's also really important to note that we don't just take waste to help people solve their own problems that they've got. We have a problem, we need to sell board. So we all work together in that. So what comes in has to go out the other end as product. And that's the only way we can create a circular solution or a circular economy. So like with the construction companies that are we're taking all their soft plastic waste, they're purchasing mostly hoardings from us because unless they're a design build, they don't get the opportunity to specify. So what comes in has got to go out. So that was a really brief look at what we're doing today, clearly because in the restraint of time. But if you guys out there do want to hear more about what we do and more about our products, just contact us. We'll pop in for in-practice presentation or an online presentation. And that's really me, but just a big thanks to you guys, Shane and Jade and the team at Nuralite for having us along today and for the support that you guys are all showing for SaveBOARD product.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Paula. It's been great having you here, sort of running us through I guess it's a product that's not ours, so we're not complete experts in it, but it's great that we can all link up and all look at this construction waste problem together and sort of work towards solutions. And you know, we all appreciate that it's early days, but going forward, we hope that you know, it'll be our SaveBOARD actually, because we'll have our own soft plastics in it. Will be used as a warm roof substrate, and also similarly with the outright external insulation, the brace board. So looking forward to that. Early days, I understand there was a shipment of our stuff going down to you. So,
Yes.
you know, any day now. So it's exciting times. Right, we've got a couple of minutes for some Q&A. We've got a few questions that have come through here. I'll try and pick a theme rather than read them out all individually. Here's a quick one. I think this one will be for you, Paula. Is there an additional binding agent used in making SaveBOARD? Or is it any other resins used? Or
no, there's nothing. It's literally just the Tetra Pak and soft plastic. Tetra Pak's multi-layered. It's got plastic and cardboard and aluminium already in it. The percentage of aluminium is so low, it doesn't affect the recipe that we have. But it's the soft plastic that basically melts and holds everything else together. And I'm sure you've got a question there as well about whether or not there's any toxins that when we through the process. No, it's a declare label. It's VOC and formaldehyde free.
Yep.
And your oat milk's been sat in that carton for 6 months. So there's no toxins or poisons in that. Otherwise, your teeth and your hair would be falling out when you drank your milk. So during the manufacture process or the working with SaveBOARD products, there's no harmful substances.
Yeah, nice. That's that covered up a couple of themes that are coming through there.
It might.
There's another theme coming through. I don't know if we want to dive into this one. It's about the vapor permeability or the breathability of it.
Yes.
So we want to touch on that.
Yep. So we have we've got data available to share a WFI analysis on generic buildups. Clearly, they're all design specific and according to the zone. But zone 1 to 3 go confidently without mechanical ventilation on a standard traditional buildup. And then as you get further down south, especially if you're using like the wraps, like a passive, more of a passive home build, as you get further south, then you would just run a WFI analysis to see if you would need mechanical ventilation. And yeah, you probably would, but you probably do anyway right down south. So it's all design specific. Just come to us and we can share the information that we've got.
Yeah, no, we've seen that with our modelling too, haven't we, and using external insulation. If we're keeping that RAD board warm by putting insulation on the outside of the structure, we solve all those potential issues. And lots of questions around the technical attributes of the product. So what Jin's done is she's just chucked a link to the TDS on the SaveBOARD, which will answer most of those questions. If we don't get through all these questions, we'll actually send out these all written to every attendee today as well, along with the recording. So
and I can answer directly any questions. I'll give you a quick call. I will just say too that with CodeMark, because that might answer a lot of questions as well. So CodeMark is pending. We're really close now. We're about to have just our factory audits in both Australia and here in Hamilton. So that is also just around the corner to being issued.
No, you'll find that very helpful. There's funny. The next question is, does it have a brands appraisal or a CodeMark? Even better, it's going to have a CodeMark.
Yeah.
Just a quick question here, maybe for you, Ange. What does a typical outsulation wall build-up look like using SaveBOARD as a RAD board? What would that sort of, in layers, what would that look like?
So generally, you'd be looking at your wall lining, then your
internal wall lining,
internal wall lining. I'm just getting my head around this. Then your framing, then your rigid air barrier, so your SaveBOARD there. Then your continuous layer of insulation. Now there are lots of different ways to pin that to the framing or put your thermally broken clips or what have you on there. And then of course, whether you have battens or what have you, and your wall cladding. So, you know, you'd be looking at your wrap layer as well with your SaveBOARD. So you may be looking at a non-breathable or a vapor permeable layer there as well. So that's totally up to your design on your wrap layer as well. Okay,
nice. More technical questions about the product, which is probably all in the TDS. It's all good. Product availability. There's obviously quite a demand for it. There's a lot of questions here around how do I get it? Where do I get it from?
That's my
when can I get it?
Because
you know,
Yeah, it's my favorite because we've
Yeah.
got it and we can send it out to you.
Nice.
Love that question. Depending on what it is, and if you're
Yep.
going to send me 20,000 squares, I'll have to maybe like get back to you on that. Please feel free to do that.
Sure.
So it's made in Hamilton.
Mhm.
Depending on what you're after, we've got supply, we've got stock, and we're agile enough to, as a small business, to be able to like jump in when we need to and manipulate our production. You know, we're not hard, set and fast. So supply, we have an endless source of raw materials.
Right.
Plenty of coffee cups, plenty of soft plastic. We're never going to run out, and yeah,
no,
we don't have a problem with our raw materials. Supply is great.
Right. Okay. No, that's good. And this is I guess probably the common question we get at the end of every webinar. Cost compared to what we used to do. Yes.
So it's pretty cost neutral, and I won't share actual sure. pricing. So it actually prices up really well. We just did an option as an acoustic layer and a warm roof, and the pricing for that particular project, I think we were probably quite a bit less. So the rigid air barrier is basically you're looking about the same as what you would for a traditional product. The plasterboard or the exposed, the board itself cost more, but like I mentioned before, you've got so many savings on time and additional trades by using a pre-finished product like the one on the screen now that's in a garage lining. And it's also a very, very good alternative for like high impact situations. So the pricing is definitely on a par with something like tough line or brace line, rather than just regular jib, because it's much more high performing than those products that brace for both bracing and impact. So big cost savings in, say, mental health facilities where you might have needed 2 layers before, and now you can just use the one paper-faced layer because it's high impact, and that can be plastered and painted. Right. KFC use it on the ceilings, and they don't plaster; they just paint it as it is without and leave the joins exposed. Right. So it's not more expensive once you start doing your numbers on a like-for-like basis. On a holistic approach, no, that makes sense. It's just a bit more complex. Yeah. No, excellent. All right. Well, look, we're almost done for time. And just to recap, this presentation is worth 5 CBD points. There'll be a survey that pops up at the end there. So hopefully today we've sort of covered, sort of showing you our commitment to reducing construction waste through circularity. Big thanks to Angela and Paula for being on the panel today. I think we're finishing up with a poll. Basically, there were lots of questions that came in that we couldn't answer, but like I said, we'll get these out from the recording, and there's an opportunity here for you to put your details down if you would like a follow-up from either one of us or none of us. It's totally up to you. All right, that's us. Thanks again, folks. We'll see you on the next webinar. Tā ki te ano.